Hey guys, it's Cal. Welcome to an episode of The Worst of Wattpad. I apologize in advance for the sound. I don't know if you can hear, but my sisters are very loudly watching Gravity Falls in the next room, and there's not much I can do about that. But let's get into it here. We're going to be talking about If I Ever Love by... Oh, 1 second. She's changed her name since I did the research. It's now Insanely Weird 04. It was Shawnee Rye before. That threw me for a loop there. She's changed it. Now this story is not finished, but she's been updating it fairly consistently, so I think I might do another episode on this after she's gotten a few more chapters in. And this is a high school romance featuring a bad boy, our favorite kind of boy. And so yeah, let's get right into it here, guys. The main character's name is Madison, or Maddie, and she lives with her grandfather, and she has fatal familial insomnia, which is actually, weirdly enough, something that I was just reading about. I was doing some research for an unrelated school project about sleep deprivation experiments, and this is something that came up. It's a disease where basically all you need to know about it for the context of this story is that you can't sleep. So Maddie can't sleep. She was diagnosed with this 2 years ago, and they gave her 3 years to live. So when the story opens, she's on her last year of life because it is in fact fatal, as the name implies. Now we get a little information on Maddie, on who she is as a character. See, Maddie she's not like other girls. She's a little different, a little quirky, you know? She doesn't spend all her time partying, hanging out with friends, going to a bonfire camping or sleepovers. No, she spends her time going to beaches, sketching, reading books, and maybe hanging out with a friend. She'll hang out with one friend, but not like a lot of friends. She doesn't have that many friends. Because as she says here, what's the point of making friends? They find me creepy, which is something I want to get into because for some reason, all the kids at Maddie's school are scared of her and hate her because of her terminal disease. She says here, as a bit of backstory, there was this one time I went to this cool rich girl party when I was 16, and the party got over at like 4 in the morning. Everyone was damn tired and lazing around here and there. And then there was me, all not sleepy and tired person. When the girl and her friends woke up, they saw me in the kitchen with ketchup on my face. I don't know why she has ketchup on her face. And went around calling everyone to the kitchen, saying that I was a vampire. And I guess it's because the ketchup on her face looks like blood, and she doesn't sleep like a vampire out of Twilight or something. I'm not quite sure what that story was, but with that's pretty much the end of the introduction, the first chapter. So let's move on to the next part, which is chapter 2, entitled Maddie. It starts with, I walk through the school hallway as usual, unnoticed to anyone but 3 people. And then she starts telling us about these 3 people. Number 1 is Elijah, my stalker who has been crushing on me ever since high school, which that line confuses me a bit because they're in high school. They're in high school right now. So maybe she met since the beginning of high school? It's a little unclear. She says, I'm not being mean or anything, but I just don't like him like that. Hi, Eli, I say as I wave to him. Hey, Maddie. And then she says this. She says, I could literally feel him blush. And you felt him blush? I mean, you see people blush. Does she sense it? Is that what she means? I don't understand that line entirely. But then we get to the second person, which is her best friend, Allie, short for Alyssa. And she says there are 2 things you need to know about her. 1, she has a beat-up family like me. 2, you can punch her right through the face, and she would still smile at you like an idiot. So, okay, those are the 2 things. We know everything we need to know about Allie now, I guess. We get on to the third person, who is her English teacher, Mr. Anderson. And Mr. Anderson is Mr. Anderson is a character, boys and girls. Let's get right into that, because this is her favorite teacher, and she introduces him by saying, "It's funny how the man is 52 years old and still has a sense of humor better than my 17-year-old classmates." And I don't know about you guys, but personally, I think a lot of people have better senses of humor than 17-year-old high schoolers, but that's just my own opinion. It is, however, right. And they have a little bit of banter because they're both very sarcastic and witty. And then Mr. Anderson says this line that really stuck out to me, because he says, "You are spoiling the 5 minutes of me time before you piles of ugly shit come and look at me like I fucking murdered Augustus Waters." So, now, granted, I never went to high school because I was homeschooled. So maybe this is how teachers talk to their students, but I've just been under the impression that you can't just swear at all of your students. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments, guys. Tell me, is this how your teachers talk to you in high school? Also, I'm not sure who Augustus Waters is, but let me see here. Oh, in the next line, Maddie mentions The Fault in Our Stars, so I guess that's a character from that. That sounds like it. Okay, and now we get to, those are the three people that noticed her, but now we get to meet another character. We get to meet Joshua Miller, who is our love interest, the bad boy. He is the captain of the football team, and, as Maddie describes him, like Regina George of Sarasota High School, and I love that so much. I just really appreciate that she compares him to Regina George. That's my favorite line in this book. Honestly, insanely weird 04, good on you. I legitimately appreciate that. So Joshua Miller sits down in front of her, which is his normal seat. Elijah usually sits there, and she's like, "Oh, that's kind of weird," but she was too busy looking out a window, so she didn't really pay that much attention. And then Mr. Anderson is he's a little upset here. He's a tad upset because the kids hand their tests in, and Joshua's test paper has a middle finger on it and says, "Fuck you, cockroach," which, I mean, good on you, Joshua. That's straightforward, that's bold. He didn't even write it in, like, a note that he was passing. He straight up wrote that on his test, handed it straight to his teacher. He wanted this man to see exactly what he thinks of him. But Mr. Anderson's not happy about that. He's also for some reason upset because Joshua wasn't paying attention, which it seems like there was a bigger issue at hand, but Joshua's also not paying attention, so he's mad at that too. He swears at students some more, like you do. And then Joshua, says that, "Why are you just getting mad at me? What about your favorite student, Maddie? She's also not paying attention." Because as we saw, Maddie was just staring out the window. And Mr. Anderson's just like, "Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. You're right. Both of you get out of my class." So then they are both kicked out. So they go out into the hall. Maddie is understandably irritated at this, because Maddie's never been kicked out of a class before. Maddie is a very good girl. This doesn't happen to her. So she's a little upset. And Joshua explains what he did by saying, "What? Oh, come on. You seriously think I would walk out alone? And besides, I need your help," he says as he walks, following me towards the outside. Okay. "Good you stressed on the last part." Oh, this is her now. "Good you stressed on the last part, because you aren't gonna get it after this, asshole." Okay. I don't understand the dialogue entirely. Let's move on a little bit. He tells her, "I'm losing my grades in English Lit. Coach says I can't keep playing if I lose my grades, and I asked Elijah, more like ragged Elijah, into letting me sit with you so that I could convince you to help me study." She's not happy about this. She's like, "Why would I help you study? You just got me kicked out of the class," which, fair enough. I don't know why he didn't just talk to her after class, why he had her dragged out of class, made her really mad, and then decided to ask her this question. I think you need to think things through a little bit more, Joshua. But then he tells her, "Please, I can role date you if you like." I stopped walking and turned back, making my way towards Joshua. what the fuck is roll date? Which was also my reaction. What the fuck is roll date? Joshua says it's a thing that happened in To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which I also haven't seen that. This little, story here is making me feel very out of the loop of popular culture. And he tells her that she'll be all famous and noticed and he'll have his grades. And then Maddie punches him in the stomach. So she's offended by that. She says, "Don't ever think that I'm that kind of girl, okay? I don't roll date shit boys." Shit boys. Like you. In fact, I don't roleplay at all, and that's the worst way of asking a girl to help you. He comes forward, crossing his fingers and making a puppy face. Gosh, he's so hot. No. Please, Madison, I really need this. Football's everything for me. I can't be out of the team. What would you even lose if you teach me? It's just tutoring shit. Come on, man. I would lose my dignity teaching someone like you. But since you really need it, okay, I'll do it. So she just agrees now. She's fine with that. She's gonna tutor him. And then we go through a little more. He calls her Maddie. And she says, "Okay, don't call me Maddie. I don't like you calling me Maddie." She doesn't like him calling her Maddie because he doesn't know her like that. And then she says something about like him watching rom-coms because he was talking about To All the Boys I Loved Before, and he's like, "I didn't want to watch that. It's because my ex-girlfriend Kayla, she made me watch that." And she tells him that Kayla really likes him and he shouldn't like just play with girls' hearts. And he's like, "Falling in love is so not me, Maddie." Oh, and then that's about the end of this chapter. So let's get on to the next one right here. We're moving right along, boys. Chapter 3, Baby. We open on her friend Alyssa in the cafeteria, and Alyssa says, "Hey, where have you been?" Looking up at me as she resumes reading her Gossip. It's like a school gossip sharing website, and Alyssa always has her nose up that website. Now, again, I never went to high school. Can you guys tell me if you have school gossip sharing websites? Because honestly, that's pretty lit. I wanna be a part of that. But since Alyssa knows all about this gossip website, she already knows that Maddie got kicked out of class with the hot boy, as she calls him. Not a hot boy, the hot boy. Joshua Miller is the hottest boy in school, and everyone knows it. They talk about it for a little bit. Alyssa, or Allie, is just like, teasing her about hanging out with the hot boy. And then she says, "If this news hits the gossip, Maddie, you know what Hungry Girls will do to you, right?" And Maddie, in the text, explains this. She says, "Well, the Hungry Girls are the actual mean girls of our school. Any hot guy or cute guy, name him, he is theirs. The group leader is, however, Kayla Cathill, which is Joshua's ex-girlfriend. She's the leader of the Hungry Girls, which, that is a terrifying name. That sounds straight out of a horror movie. I feel like the Hungry Girls are going to devour my soul." We go on, and Maddie goes over to Joshua's house to tutor him. The main point of this is that, 1, she meets his mom, and 2, he calls her baby, and she thinks that's hot. And that's the point of that. So let's go to the next part, which is Chapter 4, Cool Papa? Which is a bit of an odd-sounding title, but she calls her grandfather Papa, and it's about him, so that's what's going on. But it opens up with her, she says, "I was sitting in the most boring class, chemistry, 4th period of the day, as I hear the sound of smacking. I turned my head over to the bench diagonally behind me to see Joshua putting his tongue deep, deep inside Kayla. And when I say deep, I really mean it. I think they really had their chemistry going on there." I'm sorry, no, that's literally in the text. I'm just reading it. And I have a couple of questions. There's just a lot to unpack in this little paragraph here because, 1, smacking? Is that the sound it makes when you're making out with someone? Number 2, they're in chemistry class. Are the teachers just okay with this? They're just sticking their tongues down each other's throats in the middle of chemistry class. I guess I mean, I never went to high school. Maybe that does happen. And number three, I just don't like the phrase putting his tongue deep, deep inside Kayla. That is just overly sexual, and it makes me a little uncomfortable. Now, at this point, Maddie is watching them, and she's upset because, she hates Joshua, but also he's very hot, and he shouldn't be making out with other girls. And she says, I was so lost in my thoughts that I realized I was staring at them too long unintentionally until a paper ball hit my face. I unwrapped the paper ball. And it says, you told me she really liked me, so I thought of getting back, following your advice, baby. So I guess Joshua, wrote this and threw it at her at the same time as he's just making out with this girl. So, skills, man, honestly. Maddie's upset and she runs out of class, which, oh my goodness, Maddie never does that. Maddie is a good girl. And she says she's using her last year as an excuse to do all the things that she's never done. I guess, I know you're a senior, you're done, and you just do whatever you want. It goes like that sometimes. She runs off to the library where she finds Elijah, who is hiding. Elijah is running for his life. Elijah is in fear, and Maddie wants to know what's wrong. And it turns out that, Joshua's jock friend Kevin stole Elijah's lunch, and Elijah retaliated by dumping garbage into his locker. And Maddie's like, that was a stupid idea. And he's like, yeah, fair enough. And she just says she's going to take him back to her house so that he can hide. They get in her car and drive back to her house. And Maddie tells him that she's going to take the blame for dumping the garbage, because she's tougher than him, I guess. She's going to take the blame so that he won't get attacked by Kevin and his little minions. She goes back, and her grandfather does come down and meets Elijah, and he says he hears about what happened, and he says, since when did my boring granddaughter start getting into shit? Papa, that's a little rude. Why are you calling your granddaughter boring? But he's also he's kind of happy that this happened. Everybody, so throughout this story, everyone's like, Maddie should do more, she should get out more, she should go to parties. But whenever she does something, slightly off, just run out of class, they're like, yes, Maddie, you're living your best life, do it, be a rebel, even like her grandfather, and that's just funny to me. And after that, that's pretty much the end of that chapter. So let's move on to the second one. Oh, gosh, guys, I'm so cold. I have to turn off my space heater so it doesn't make noise in the background of this video, and I'm freezing right now. But we go to chapter 5, which is A Dog in My House. So it starts with Maddie and Elijah sitting on the couch. They're watching How I Met Your Mother. And so earlier, Maddie's grandpa had mentioned something about, he was like, make the most of what you have, because he's saying she's about to die, so, live your best life. Oh! I just realized she was talking about her last year of life, not her last year of high school. Ooh, damn. So he was saying, make the best of this last year of your life. And Elijah says, say, Maddie, what was that thing your granddad told? Make the most of what you have? He was talking about my best friend. What? Who? FFI. Fatal familial insomnia. Duh. What about it? I did tell you I only had 3 years, right? So if you get your math right, this is my last one. And after this, exchange, Elijah improbably tries to kiss her, and Maddie is having none of it, so she tells him that she thinks he needs to go home now, which, fair enough, I would do the same thing. That was bad timing, Elijah. So we go, it's a bit later, Maddie's just sketching, and Joshua texts her. This is when we find out that Joshua's contact name in her phone is just Dog. She doesn't say why, she just says that she saved his number as Dog, I guess because he's a dog. And she continues to refer to him this way throughout the rest of the story. And he's just saying that they can't study at his house, that she needs to find somewhere else to study, and she says, it's okay, we can study tomorrow, I don't have someplace else, Joshua. And that's pretty much the end of that. But then she hears her doorbell ring a little bit later. And it says, I run downstairs with my hair tied in a bun, although some strands of my black hair were loose. I was wearing my Game of Thrones fandom shirt, along with pajamas. I opened the door without checking. And oh no, it's the hot boy! He saw her in her fandom pajamas! Oh my god. But, anyway, Joshua's here to study. Even though, Maddie said, hey, we're not studying today. And she says, I told you we won't be studying today. Why did you decide to show up without even informing me, dog? And he says, one of the creepier lines in this story, well, maybe next time you don't forget to reply to my texts and calls. Which, now Elijah was introduced as the stalker, but at this point I'm starting to think that Joshua is the stalker, because that is a stalker's thing to say, sir, and I don't appreciate it. He comes right to the house, because Maddie's just like, yeah, this is fine, I guess this is what's happening now. And she goes up to her room to change out of her embarrassing fandom pajamas. And this is a bit disturbing, because while she is changing, Joshua opens the door, and even more disturbing is the following line, so desperate to turn me on? Oh, I do not like that, boys and girls. That's extremely uncomfortable, and, ooh, that's a red flag. That is a red flag. She tells him to get out of her room, and he does. When she goes back down, he's downstairs, looking at family photos, and he points at a picture of her grandpa, and is like, is that your dad? And Maddie, here's what it says in the story. I said in my most creepy tone, no, that's my granddad. Which, why is that creepy? Why is it creepy that it's her granddad? I don't quite understand that. But moving on, this just leads into her explaining that she lives with her granddad and not her parents, because, I don't know, there's some, like, sad past back in there. She hates her parents, she says, and they didn't want her. That's all we get about it. And then we go on to the next part, which is Chapter 6, Annoying Ass Nose. And now the title's in reference to something that happened a bit earlier that I didn't touch on, where Maddie's just asking him a lot of questions, and he says something like, keep your annoying ass nose out of my business. It's not terribly important. And now, at this point, Joshua sees the name Ava on the refrigerator, and wants to know whose name it is. Now, this is just Maddie's middle name, but for some reason, she is dead set on him not knowing this. She does not want him knowing her middle name. No, sir. But then her grandfather comes down and calls her by her full name, so oh no, now Joshua knows. What's she gonna do? Let's see. Also, this is something that, Papa says. He says, you started tutoring hot boys like him? So even Papa knows that Joshua is the hottest boy. Ooh. Maddie's embarrassed, they're just joking around. And then, Joshua leaves to go home, and we go on to the next part. Chapter 7, Flood. Maddie's just been sketching. She's just been doing her quirky girl things, quirking around. And she looks at her phone, which she hasn't checked in a while, and sees she has 13 text messages and 15 missed calls from Joshua. Joshua, my guy, that is some stalker behavior right there. I'm gonna need you to take it all the way down, sir. And he's texting her. Let me just read some of these texts for you. He says, let's do it at your place. Give me your address. Which, wasn't he just at her house? I think he has her address. But anyway, he says, are you dead? Hello, I'm waiting for your reply, baby. You know how many girls wait for my texts? More than the gay dudes you crush on. Yeah, that's another thing I didn't get into yet, is people repeatedly throughout the story call Elijah gay, while simultaneously insisting that he has a crush on Maddie. And I'm just not quite sure that they understand what being gay is. Let me to explain to you guys, like, I'm pretty sure that some of being gay, or even like maybe one of the main parts of it, is that if you are a gay man, you are not actually attracted to women. But that's just what I think about that. Joshua proceeds to text Maddie's name out, one letter at a time. And he says, "Baby, where are you? I'm so hard right now. XD. Fine, see what I do." She finally answers him, and he just pretty much proceeds to try to sext her. He's high. That's also part of it. And she's not having it. She's not happy with this. But Joshua, he's just going on. He's kind of trying to blackmail her into, like, going along with him, saying that he's gonna tell people, like, she was bad in bed, even though she's never slept with him, and that, like, her gay friend, who is in love with her, is gonna be in trouble from, him and his jock buddy, Kevin. And that's the end of that little section. We go on to the next day, and Maddie's in school. She goes off to the bathroom, and then to end this chapter, we get this line: "Flush, trash, which I am, I am highly curious what those sound effects were. What is the sound effect of trash? Let's go to the next part and find out. We have chapter 8, trash, which opens with, "What the fuck, you son of a cunt." Someone has dumped garbage on Maddie. I guess that's what trash makes the sound trash, when you dump it on a person. And she's wondering who this is. She's a little mad. She thinks it's probably Joshua and Kevin, because they think she dumped the garbage into Kevin's locker, and Joshua is, like, Kevin's buddy. But then she's like, no, they're guys. They couldn't come in the girls' bathroom. Oh, and then she realizes that it must be Kayla, which... Okay, so Kayla, we know she's the leader of the Hungry Girls, but she's never actually been shown to have, like, a direct problem with Maddie, so I'm not entirely sure why Maddie is just totally convinced that it was Kayla, but she is. She knows it was Kayla, because she storms out of the bathroom, and of course all the kids are taking pictures of her and laughing at her, because they're mean high schoolers. And she goes into the cafeteria where is it? Kayla is making out with Joshua again. We again get the phrase, sticking her tongue inside him, which is cool. I'm glad we got to hear that again. Maddie walks over, pulls Kayla off of Joshua, and punches her in the face. All the kids in the cafeteria go, "Ooh," as you do. Maddie's like, wow, I probably shouldn't have punched her. That was a poor decision on my part, and she runs out. Allie falls after her and comforts her. She's like, it's okay, because she was a jerk. And she's like, yeah, fair enough. Joshua comes over to see how she was doing. And then we get a scene where Kayla goes to the principal's office. She gets detention. So does Kevin. It's implied he did something to Elijah, I guess. And as she sees Kevin, she gives him a hate stare. And then we go on to the next part, which is chapter 9, Drama Llama. A lot of this is just Maddie explaining to her grandfather and her friend exactly what went down in the cafeteria. Even Allie was there, but she, like, kind of explains her motivation and everything that happened before. And then Maddie gets a text from Joshua that he says, "Come down, I need to take you somewhere." So, I guess he's outside of her house now, which isn't great. I'm a little concerned. He texts her, "I know you are awake, stop ignoring me, Ava," but she still doesn't text him. And then we get this line. "You really have a strong nerve," a voice comes from the balcony. I turn around swiftly to see Joshua standing in my balcony, looking at me through the curtains. And she says, "What is this, Romeo and Juliet?" But I'm getting a little more vibes of, JD from Heathers. That's the vibes I'm getting right now. I think that Joshua's about to murder her. I'm not feeling any Romeo and Juliet in here. He comes right into her room and, like, gives her clothes to put on and is like, "We're leaving." And she's just like, "Yeah, I guess." And she goes with him. So, okay. She gets in his car. And she says, "Where are we going?" "Party," he says, as he pushed the accelerator. "Party? I don't do parties." "She's not like other girls." "Stop the car." He drove so fast that I had to hold onto the seat for dear life. "Shut up, Ava, you'll be having company." "If it's you, then I won't think twice before running off." He rolls his eyes. Yeah, I won't think twice about dropping you off at some random place. Rude. Can you at least drive slowly? I say. He pushed the accelerator with even more force. Asshole. Isn't that so romantic, you guys? I ship them. I do. I love it. They get to the house and Allie is there, so I guess Allie was in on it. So Allie's a bad friend, because she made this plan to have her friend kidnapped out of her house and dragged to a party. So Allie, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. But Maddie goes off from Allie for a little. Allie goes off with Joshua, and Maddie comes face to face with Kevin, because this is Kevin's party, and oh no, Kevin is mad at her. But she tells him, I didn't dump garbage in your locker, Kevin. Kevin gives a weird expression. Then why'd you run? I'm sorry, that's Joshua's voice. Then why'd you run with that gay guy? No wonder Joshua is his best friend. She actually says that, so cool. She said, I didn't run, he was in a pathetic state, I tried to help him. Who knew I was putting myself in more shit than I already am? And then Kevin just goes, oh, I'm sorry, I really am, but I shouldn't have urged Kayla in throwing trash on you, but your gay friend did deserve it. Leave Elijah alone. I know I was ragging on Elijah for trying to kiss Kayla after she told him about her terminal disease, but this is just, you guys are just being mean at this point. Elijah's not that bad. Leave him alone. And then Maddie says Elijah's name, and I guess Kevin didn't really know it because he responds by saying, that's his name? So gay. He laughs. You want a drink? He asks as he holds out a bottle of vodka to me. And then Maddie thinks maybe he isn't that bad, which would not be my reaction to the conversation that just happened, but, okay, I guess that's what's happening now. Allie is back. She's been gone about 5 minutes, and she is now very drunk, which confuses me slightly, because at the beginning of the scene, she was absolutely sober, and now 5 minutes later, she's just plastered. Allie is so drunk. And, she realizes she can't go home because her parents would see her drunk. So Kevin says that, she can stay in a room there, and Maddie's a little skeptical of this, which, as you should be, but after a little convincing, pretty much decides that it's fine. She'll just leave Allie to sleep at this guy's house while she's, severely intoxicated. Which, I guess Maddie is also a bad friend. Neither of them are good friends, is what I'm learning in this chapter. Joshua goes off to make out with some other girl. And we go to the next part, chapter 11, Party. Now, Maddie is looking up at the sky outside, sitting away from the party. We do get a little bit of imagery that I like here, Insanely Weirdo 4, if you're ever listening. I like when you say the sky was so chaotic with the blue mixing to form something so dark, yet so calm and bewitching. That's pretty good, I can see that in my head. But she's sitting out here, and then we meet Aiden Norman, student body president. He sits down, and he starts hitting on her a little bit. They're getting a little flirty, which I'm glad. I'm glad that Maddie seems interested in some other boy aside from Joshua, because Joshua's scaring me a little bit at this point. And then they go back inside. We go to the next part, which, actually, this just got uploaded, as I was about to make this. This is a new part, which is chapter 12, Beautiful. So, I've only really read through this once, but let's go through it together, guys. They go inside, and they dance together. Aiden doesn't really know how to dance, but Maddie shows him. They're dancing, and then, where's that part where Aiden says, as we were dancing, let's play a game. And she says, sure. I say as I place my head on his shoulder, and he grips my waist tightly. So now we're gonna get right into some cringe right here, guys. This is good. I love it. So Aiden says, I'll tell you something I find attractive in you, and you do the same. Is this your first step before you take her to bed? I giggle. No, that's something I can't tell you, can I? He smirks. The music fades out as I was engrossed in him. Okay, I'll start. He says, I like your eyes, fierce and bold. I blush more. Hair. Set just right and messy. I can make it more, he says as he runs his hand through his hair, brushing it. I laugh. I like your hair too. Aiden starts touching my hair, even though it wasn't styled for a party, thanks to Joshua. Okay. Physique, I say as I touch his arms. Attractive. Thank you, madame, he says as he imitates a French accent. I don't know how to do a French accent, so you're just gonna have to imagine that in your head. I like your legs. Quite strong. My cheeks were so red that it looked like I was having an allergic reaction to nuts. Did you play any sports? Your legs look like you did, he said. I played football till I was 15. So I guess, is this like, that must be like British or something, right? Because in American football, we don't have like women's leagues. So I guess that might make sense for some of the phrasing and words that were confusing me a little bit. It just might not actually be American. I wasn't getting ragging, like they said ragging a lot, like as like teasing someone, and I was like, what does that mean? But that might just be a British word. And then she gets a little upset because he's like, why did you stop? And it's because of her disease, but she doesn't want to bring it up because she doesn't want him to like feel bad for her or anything because she's dying. And then she just goes off to like get a drink. Her grandpa calls her and is like, where are you? But he's just kind of cool that she just ran out to a party. Her grandpa's pretty chill. And that is pretty much the end of the chapter. Maddie sees Joshua making out with a different girl than he was before, and she's like a little mad about that, but she has Aiden now. And that's the end of this chapter, so this is the end for now, guys. I might make another episode later so we can find out what happens. Like, let me know, do you think that Maddie is gonna fall for Elijah, or Joshua, or Aiden? Like, who do you think? Personally, I'm rooting for Aiden. He's been a little cringy, but he's the least problematic boy out of the bunch so far. He's my favorite. But yeah, guys, that's all I have for you today. I want to leave a quick disclaimer, like, because honestly, no shade to this author or anything. Like, she's keeping up her writing pretty consistently, and honestly, good on you. That's hard to do. Good like writing and working on something you're passionate about. Because, and I know that Wattpad is mostly home to younger people, and I wrote some truly terrible things in my youth, much worse than this, which I'll probably do an episode on that someday, just some of my own writings. But I thankfully I thank God every day that my parents really restricted my internet access as a child, so there's no public record of it, because it's pretty bad, you guys. But yeah, this was a fun time. I enjoyed this story, so good job. At least you wrote something interesting. It's better to be bad and interesting than, like, mediocre and boring, honestly. And that's all I have for you today, guys. Tune into the next episode. I'll see you then.